everyone, my name is Kiara Lewis. I am the QEP Student Outreach Coordinator, and today we have Dr. Desmond Delk, who is our Lunch and Learn guest speaker for today. And so Dr. Desmond Delk is currently an assistant professor in the School of Education and Behavioral Science at Langston University. Desmond taught for 2 years at Savannah State University as a health education lecturer, where he began the publication process for his first book. In 2012, Desmond collaborated with illustrator Morgan Adams to publish the second ever children's book based on an HBCU, I Love My SSU. Over the past 3 years, he has used the book as a way to both excite children about their first homecoming at Savannah State University and to inform them about the history of SSU as well as other HBCUs. Furthermore, Desmond has even established a scholarship at Savannah State University to ensure that students are able to meet one of college's biggest obligations, tuition. And so, Desmond, you're a scholar and you wrote the I Love My SSU children's book. And so let's start talking about your career in academia. So how is writing important for the ones who choose their career in the education or just academic field?
Well, it's about contributing to, the field, the body of work. And as a professor, as a scholar, where we're trying to solve issues or trying to find out ways to highlight effective practices, especially in teaching. So right. You can either publish research articles, opinion pieces, literature reviews, and so for ideally we want to help develop better teachers, help them understand and draw bridges and connections to students. So right. That's the purpose, really.
I guess it kind of goes into my next question about the type of writing that college professors do. I know you mentioned some. Was there any specific ones that you do personally?
I got a couple of opinion pieces coming up that's in the works right now.
Okay.
And also, I'm trying to publish my dissertation. And my dissertation specifically was about how physical education teachers teach, or what skills and techniques they use, and what are their needs when it comes to teaching English language learners. So we want to kind of get that information. That body of work is really not there. We really don't know. There's not a lot of information about how to effectively teach students whose first language is not English.
Okay.
Therefore, trying to get that research publication out, and a couple of opinion pieces, kind of like have HBCU focus with swimming as well as public relations and historically black colleges.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. That sounds exciting. So could you, what writing advice would you like to share with college students who are planning to follow a career path in the education field? What should they be more aware of? Where can they find help? Things of that sort. So what type of advice would you give to them who are looking to go into the education field?
I see. So what to be aware of? Authentic sources. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people retweet or develop memes based upon false information. So it's important that we start fact checking information. And also you just got to consistently read. So you got to find out what field or what route within education you're interested in, whether it be like educational psychology, physical education, elementary education, whatever, and find those journals or those publications which have that focus. Just kind of read those. You don't have to read them all the way. Just kind of on a consistent basis, see what's new, what's happening, what's developing in the field. So you have the research journals, and then you also have like the more practitioner base, so what teachers are doing in the classroom. So I would say consistently check those out and go to the library. Use the library. The librarian research scholars, they help out a lot, but often they're not really used. They're rarely used.
And that's a very, very good way for them to develop their skills, develop their writing skills. And so I agree. The library is definitely a good way. So I appreciate your advice on that. And so we hope that our college students will take this advice. So let's talk about you as an author. What inspired you to write the I Love My SSU book? And did you always want to be a writer, or was it something else that led you to begin writing?
I guess I never imagined myself being especially published children's book author. So no, I never imagined that. But what kind of inspired me, I said this like 1 million times, it's really just I went to Morehouse. So I was at homecoming one day, and the guy had it was homecoming, the guy had a children's book about Morehouse. So I considered buying it, but I ended up buying it. Then I looked at it, and then it's a pretty solid book. It had the images of the college, and it's a pretty cool idea. I looked in the back of the book and had a list of all the books published by this company, and no, there were no other HBCUs. University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, the list goes on. But Morehouse was the only HBCU represented. So I was like, wow, what way can we inform our children or introduce them to HBCUs at an early age? But I'm trying to figure this out. But if there's no books about it, that's a gap
right.
that needs to be filled. So I was going to try to fill the gap. We have Morehouse now, Savannah State, Howard University, and now coming soon. There's another HBCU. It's in Louisiana, so y'all see it soon. I don't want to give away the person.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll be on the lookout for that one. And so when we read a book, we usually don't think about the depth of the writing process, the time taken for the author to research, to write, to revise, to edit, just going through that writing process, and to revise it again and to finalize it. And so could you tell us about your writing process?
I guess when I was going through this process, I didn't even realize all that. I thought it was going to be just real easy. But, the main thing was like consistently put your ideas on paper.
Yeah.
And as ideas come up, you need to write them down, whether you use them, recorded voice memos, write it down, text it to yourself, put it in the cloud somewhere, send yourself an email. But you have to consistently do that. With the revision process, it was, you just got to get it right. If you're going to have a product, you want to kind of get it right until it's polished. So, and then also your research, right? So when trying to figure out, like, the way the book is set up, it's a children's book, but then it also has like fun facts about Savannah State. So I want to know which facts are important to alumni. What would they like to see in the book? And then so I found out a little bit of stuff that I never knew about Savannah State. Just asking questions. So again, asking questions and then following that up with looking for sources that actually answer those questions. Again, going back to check those facts.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And I like the fact that you said you didn't even realize that you were, all of that you were going through. So it's something to look at. Something that, when you finally see the outcome, it's just like, kind of look back like, man, this is what I did. So, yeah. So, besides that complex process of writing a book, authors may need to take other actions in order to have their book in the hands of their audiences. So, having others probably read it, publication process, things of that sort, So share with us your experience of publishing, distributing, and promoting your book. And so even to accomplish these actions, requires an author to write other types of writing. So kind of expound on that aspect of your book.
Again, that's one of those things I never thought of when I decided to write this book. But so the way Mascot Books, the company I work with, it's kind of like hybrid. If you think about like self-publishing, like they really support or really help out. They have a branch where they do the shipping and they do the distribution, a little bit of promotion. But you really have to promote yourself. You said what types of other writing?
Yeah.
What's it called? Memos,
yeah.
Press releases, and everything like that. You have to be to the point. Very concise, and it has to be captivating as well. And so it's kind of hard to put, in like maybe 2 sentences, what you're trying to do, how you're trying to do it, and why people should actually buy in.
Right.
And that was kind of difficult for me. Ideally, you want to just look at somebody else and say, hey, what did they do? But, if you have some specific things or yours is a little unconventional per se, you're going to have to, tweak it until you kind of get it right. And so that was a little bit difficult as well, writing the press releases, how to just be concise and give the information to people. Because I can really elaborate. It's easy to just write big, write for a long period of time or try to, make sense out of something. If you can just keep rambling on and on and on, but just be straightforward and to the point. It takes a different type of writing. So
sounds good.
And why people should buy in and why people should buy into your product.
Did you have any other person kind of look over what you had written or...
I had a whole bunch of folks. I had just random people that I walked by on campus. People had been already invested into Savannah State, faculty, alumni. And then with the illustrations, I had, friends look at it, hey, does this make sense or should we, can you see that little small eraser mark? And I was like, yeah, we can. So, again, you want to just make sure the product is polished. And so
right.
once you do that, everything will be okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And so, the purpose of our QEP Lunch and Learns is to pretty much bring in professionals from various backgrounds to talk about, how writing plays a role within their profession. And so this allows students to see writing utilized in different arenas, not only just, teaching and things of that sort. And so it's utilized within many career fields. And so hence showing important how having good writing skills, is. And so could you, the title of your presentation is Writing for Service, Using the Pen for Others. So could you please share with us how you can write for service and use the pen for others?
I guess at Langston, the university motto is like education for service. So, ideally, we're here to educate people, to give them access to knowledge and utilize it to serve people. I guess you mean like, what does service mean? I don't know. I mean, it can be a little bit of everything, right? So when I talk about writing for service, my words or my products, how can I utilize that was specific for the book? How can I utilize the revenue for the book to assist others, all right? And so when I was doing the children's book, one of my goals or the promises that I made to people was that, hey, a portion of this is going to go back to students directly, so to help, with scholarships. Right. So that's one way you can do it. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
A little under the weather. It changes, when you go from the Midwest to back home. So, that's one aspect of it. Additionally, using the pen. And so, again, you can use your words to advocate and promote the ideas of others, right. Fight for others, and charge people to do a little bit better. If you kind of think about the letter from the Birmingham jail with Martin Luther King, he was advocating for people who were always, people who were fighting for their justice and really charging people who had these ideals, the Christian values, preachers and everything like that, to really stand tall on your values. If you say, this is how we should live, then charge everybody else to live that way. Right. And expect that from everybody else as well. So you use your pen to fight for justice. You use your pen to, especially in the education field, introduce new techniques or dispel quote-unquote techniques that would be effective with certain groups of students. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really it. That's just from my perspective. I'm not really, I'm definitely about service. And, if you think back to my grandparents and great-grandparents, they were people of service in the public service field, mm-hmm. teachers and educators and everything like that. So, mm-hmm. Money's out there, but at the end of the day, I guess you think about leaving legacies and making an indelible impact, then everybody be laying in the grave. You won't hear your eulogy, so you might as well do something decent while you're here on earth. So.
I agree. I definitely agree. This is really good. I really enjoyed, your perspective of writing for service. So I definitely agree with that. And so the right attitude, we have the mission to enhance student learning by improving attitudes about writing. And so what advice would you give to students to improve their attitudes towards writing? What would you have to say to them?
You got to just use time, right? So you got to make time. We got the same amount of hours in a day, right? So it's if you used to always been on social media, kicking it, hanging it out, not really focused on your work, just start doing a lot, 15 minutes a day to something towards academia. Right, so maybe writing, or within those 15 minutes, spend 2 to 3 to 5 minutes just writing something, right? Sometimes what I used to do, or maybe what I thought about doing, I don't know if I actually did it, was, when I read different articles or, like opinion pieces, I would, write my rebuttal to it or my comment to it. Now, sometimes I rarely, actually submitted it because it wasn't necessary, but, I would just practice it. And, of course, it helps you with your argumentative skills or, fact finding and being able to elaborate on ideas where people might have missed. So, or even if you Instagramming and tweeting and everything like that, and you post things, you can really kind of elaborate on why you decided to put this picture there, or what this post meant to me. Oftentimes people put out these quote unquote meaningful or deep messages. We call them fake deep because they really think that they're digging, making sense, but it's really not. But I'm encouraging people to use whatever mode of communication they use and just try their best to write and use regular American Standard English, so when writing, so you can just get used to it.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you won't make those small mistakes that people usually make on papers.
Right. And I like how you use social media. That's really big nowadays to pretty much appeal and relate to the students, because that's what they're engaging in right now. And so they could definitely, use those social outlets to pretty much expound on what they mean. I definitely agree. You want to kind of, a lot of times you want to meet students where they are, or, where they're headed. Technology is definitely expanding right now, and, social media is definitely very, very heavily used. So I agree. Just kind of appealing to the students and kind of relating to them, meeting with them where they are. And so kind of going off that question, did you always have a positive attitude when it came to writing? And, how has writing helped you develop, as a person?
A positive, it was always positive. I don't want to say it's negative, but I rather, when I remember in 5th grade, what I talk about today, we used to have writing assignments, right? You had to write papers or whatever. And I used to get a teacher a pencil to grade my papers so I can just erase whatever mistake she wanted, because I didn't feel like even writing that whole concept over again. I definitely didn't like the red ink, because, I had to write the paper over again. So writing, it's a definitely difficult thing. Even to this day, I still will find something else to do as opposed to writing until I just kind of buckle down and sit down. And when it starts flowing, it starts flowing. Right. But you got to really keep practicing at it, like any other skill. Any other sport, any other thing that you're trying to be better in. If you allot time to get it done, you'll get better at it. It takes time. It just doesn't happen automatically. So it's frustrating at times. Even the greatest writers, I'm pretty sure their attitudes at time are one of disdain for the whole writing process of trying to get those thoughts. I wish people could just look in my head. Oftentimes, I always say, "You see what I'm saying?" And like, no, I don't hear. You're not clear what you're saying, nor did you write it down clearly. So I don't see what you're saying. But it's just something that you got to work on.
Right. I agree. And so, how is it? I guess kind of talk about how it developed you as a person. Or if if it has, in general.
Okay, I guess like that was one of the questions too. I guess it got me a job, right? So I had to complete the dissertation to become, to get the doctorate. Therefore, by me writing this piece of paper, this document, I was able to get a job. So it helps directly. But just being concise with my ideas, and as a teacher, my ability to write. I'm not an English major, so there are some things that mechanics wise that I will refer to my friends who are English majors, or who have their PhDs in English, to make sure things sound a little concise and flow and things of that nature. But you always have your resources. One, you need to know what your resources are and use those resources. But being able to correct my students' papers, which is very important, right, helping them think through their process, which it's something that I enjoy doing, I guess, but I really want them to be sound in the arguments that they're making. That's what it's about. If you can clearly articulate your thought, then right. One, you minimize confusion, right? You minimize confusion, and then with the writing thing, it's just about as a student, you need to align your writing towards the expectations of the faculty for right now. And so once you learn to do that, which is gonna take you time. It's gonna take time.
Of course.
If people utilize their time effectively, if people, like I say, if you're used to not writing hours at a time, when the teacher gives you like a 4-page paper, a 5-page paper, when you have to do cite articles and everything like that, it's a very daunting task. So little by little, and everything really in moderation. Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Timing is everything, and it does take time. I know, just with hearing some students on campus now, they tell me, they have the same issues with clearly expressing themselves on paper and things of that sort. Some people are, confident in their writing. So it's just, it's different scales, it's different levels of how people feel about writing. But I think you've provided some excellent advice for them. And of course, you're experienced in it. So, of course, you definitely know exactly what you're talking about. So are there any other thoughts that you would like to leave with us today?
There's probably always someone who knows something a little bit more in depth than you do. So it's probably would benefit you or behoove you to make sure you connect with that person. I guess oftentimes, you don't want to. All right, so if somebody's better than me, obviously I have some weaknesses as compared to that person. sometimes the only way we're going to get a little bit better, I mean, oftentimes we can kind of just stay with people who we can share our papers with folks who are going to give us the green light. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. It's very hard to give your papers and, give your writings to somebody who really is going to use that red mark. So the only way to really get better and improve your writing and to really get good feedback and really make that paper or that concept strong is to, challenge yourself and be ready to be critiqued.
Right.
And I still don't like that myself,
Yeah.
Even with faculty evaluations and we have to have peer evaluations. You think you're doing everything right, but you really don't want that person coming off and say, hey, well, you probably do this a little bit better, that a little bit better. Or even with student evaluations, you might think that you're doing everything perfectly or pretty, straight to the point.
Yeah.
But the students let you know, hey, I'd rather you do this or slow down a little bit more. Can you go a little bit more in depth? And, I mean, it's not a good feeling at times, but, I mean, at the end of the day, what are you trying to be? Are you trying to get to the next level or are you trying to be where you are? And so that's really on you. So if you want to be at if you want to stay at the same level, that's on you. But if you want to get to the next level, then do what it takes.
Sounds good. Well, we thank you so much, Desmond, for this interview and, of course, for having you as our Lunch and Learn speaker.